Good afternoon, everybody. I was just kind of thinking something different that we could do. I'm sure you're tired of seeing my face, especially sitting in my office. So I was trying to think of a different way to have a different change of pace of things that we're learning, and maybe just something a little bit more practical that I might even try to show you in the classroom. But since we're not in the classroom, I'm going to try to do it right here so you guys can see it, and then maybe give you some feedback on what you think about it. So. One of the most common misconceptions with use of force, and we'll talk a lot about that in Chapter 8, along with ethics and other things that are happening in policing. Now, there's been a couple really bad mistakes like the George Floyd incident where officers did present some liability, but there's a lot of other ones that have common misconceptions like the one that I want to address today. So one of them, and you can see this is our dummy here, he is used for taser. He has the little coat thing on there that shows how to do taser, and it lets it get the conductivity that it needs. He's also used for the ASP baton, so that way we can do our expandable batons and use it against him, and he's very durable. But you'll also notice I very poorly taped an edged weapon on there. So there's a good size kitchen knife, dagger, whatever you want to call it. So the misconception is, and I've seen so many times in videos, and I think, and I'm preaching to the choir anyway, if you guys are in this class. But if there are any doubts here, maybe I can try to figure out a way to make us think a little bit differently on that. So over the past few years, especially since taser has become very popular, and it is one of the best weapons that we have, one of the best tools that we have for law enforcement. Now, there's different levels of force, from just talking to people, going hands-on, maybe light hands-on kind of things, defensive tactics, all the way down to strikes and blows and things like that, and then all the way up to deadly force. Okay, so deadly force on the law enforcement side would be our firearm. So if we're looking at deadly force, well, what does it take to have to use our firearm? But being confronted with deadly force. So the taser, the ASP baton, pepper balls, all those kind of things that we have, pepper spray, all those things that we've come up with are all tools to go underneath deadly force. So those are called intermediate uses of force, and then you have deadly force. So a police officer should be able to meet resistance with resistance, right? Someone throws a punch at me, I'm able to go hands-on. I don't have to keep trying to verbalize with them. Someone pulls a gun on me, it's pretty obvious, and anybody would probably agree. They pull a gun on me, I get to pull a gun back on them. But one of the biggest misconceptions is, well, why did they have to shoot the guy? All he had was a knife. Why couldn't they have tasered him? Okay, so some of you may be way ahead of me. So the taser is a very good weapon, like I said, but it's not foolproof. So I have one right here. And so it's got a nomenclature just like a gun. It's got a double-sided power button. So once I turn it on, you can see that it turns on. It also gives me a little dot there, so I can line it up on my guy where I want to line it up. And I don't know if you guys can see that, and I may have to move it here in just a minute. And then what happens is I have to pull it out of, and I have a taser holster. This one is a different model, so it doesn't fit the taser holster. And this is an Academy belt. This is a retired police belt from LPD. They upgraded to some newer ones, so this is still a usable belt. So what I have is a taser in this holster. Okay, so I can pull the taser out of the holster, and I have to have it secured in there. So in order to get it out, it doesn't just come out. You have to push a button, do something to get it out. And when I pull it out, I can do one of two things. One, I can put usually you'll have the cartridge in there, and the cartridge is what has all the probes and everything else on it. So it snaps into place and usually stays on. So when I draw it, it's ready to do the whole thing. Then there's another technique to it. It's not near as effective, but it's called a drive stun, D-R-I-V-E. A lot of people call it a dry stun. We're not doing it dry or wet. It's just a drive stun. And what happens is I can turn it on, and as you can see, that's 5 long seconds. So if you counted that as 1 1,000, 2 1,000, try doing that if you're under the other side of this, and it would probably seem like about 5 hours. So this can be used as direct contact. So this can be used to put up against somebody, but all it's going to do is generate whatever pain in that muscle area. The purpose of this is it has the 2 different probes that come out, and they're both on leads. And when we shoot it at our dummy or on the person, and I don't know if you can read this, but right there, just above the belt line, it says split the belt line. So the way the taser works is you had to be able to get the full muscle stimulation, and that's what it does. There's 2 little prongs, and I'll show you those here in a minute. but those prongs need to go underneath the skin, so it has to be able to penetrate the skin. So can you already see what I'm dealing with? So first of all, we need to split the belt line because there's two different nerve groups in our muscular makeup. So we have the muscles that go above our waist and the muscles go below the waist. So therefore, if I just hit them with one prong here and one prong here, it's going to generate all the muscle that you have in your body, whether you have worked it out or not. Everybody still has muscle. And once it generates that, those muscles will contract, and that's when you see them stiffen up. It just completely contracts them, grabs a hold of them, and makes those useless. And it just completely stimulates them. So anything from the waist up. If I hit one in this thigh and this thigh, then I might be able to still do this, but my legs are going to freeze up. I won't be able to move them. I may fall over. So the goal is to split the belt line. So a lot of times you'll see where they turn it kind of sideways. So that way maybe once it comes out and there's not any kind of rifling like on a pistol, it's these two strings that come flying out of this behind these doors. And they will penetrate somewhere on the top and somewhere on the bottom. So if he was facing me like I'm facing you, you would want somewhere up here in the upper chest, because it's a bigger range, okay? So somewhere in the torso. So I would probably go here and maybe here. So if I try to aim and I'm 10 feet away, I could know what the pattern is going to split. And the further they are, the more it's going to split. So the further they are away, the less chance you have of those hitting. Now, if I deploy it and I hit them here and here, it's going to cause both of those muscle groups to go into a total body spasm. And that's why you see where people are fighting and they just completely lock up, or they kind of go into a fetal position and they just fall over. They cannot control those muscles. It completely seizes them, takes them over with 50,000 volts of electricity. Now, what if only one of those hits me and, like very common, I carry my phone right here. Okay, so that's a pretty big part there. These are very little probes. So if one hits me here and one hits me right here on the leg and my phone is in my pocket, it's obviously not going to go through to my leg. It's going to hit me on the phone. And so it's going to be rendered useless. That one is not going to generate anything in there but just a bee sting. Not even anywhere close to even the drive stun. Able to do that. So there's no amount of electricity going. All it does is it feels like you just got bit by a mosquito. So that's the faulty side of these. They're great weapons when they work. Still one of the best things that's invented. It's probably saved a lot of people from getting shot. But if you don't get penetration under the skin in both of them, so you have heavy coats in the winter to penetrate through all that down and padding to get through somebody, it may not happen. Somebody's walking away, you hit them above back and below the back, and maybe hit them where they're carrying their wallet, and it goes into their wallet. You're not going to get any effect. So the reason I don't meet deadly force, which hopefully we can all agree that an edged weapon, a knife of some kind, that could slice me up, that he could come at me and take a slash, rip all my guts out, hit my throat, hit an artery, hit my hand, hit my finger, and make it to where I can't even use my gun if I decide to go to that. We can agree that's deadly force, right? Could I kill you with a knife? A knife, in its manner of its use or intended use, is capable of causing death or serious bodily injury, just like a gun, just like a car. Okay, I might have to use my patrol car to render someone incapacitated. If someone turns around and they're shooting at me and I'm still in my car, and I'm closer to be able to hit them with my car rather than with my gun, that may make a little bit of a difference in timing before I get shot. So back to the question, why do we have to shoot them? Why shoot this guy if all he has is a knife? Okay, so he has a knife. I have a gun. Both of them are deadly force, right? The difference is my gun is I can shoot from wherever, right? So I can be from right here, I can be right up against him. The knife, he has to be right up against me. So the only way he can cause damage with that is that, or maybe throwing it at me, which is about as accurate of sticking into me, unless he's some kind of a knife-throwing expert, as the taser is. So this is our simunition guns. This is actually a Glock 17 T, so it's a Glock training gun. So it has the same nomenclature, same trigger, so we can train the officer to be able to use this just like they would a regular weapon. Okay, has a trigger, everything just like that, okay? Also, instead of a bullet, these are just kind of like a bullet. They fire, they've got a firing pin, a deal on the rim to be able to fire it. And then it's got a little capsule. So instead of lead that's going to penetrate somebody, this is just a little capsule of paint. So it's kind of like a really, really, really hard paintball. So what will happen is I put it in there just like that. I have to actually put it in there, make sure it goes into the chamber. So I just chambered one just like if it was a round. And if I was going to fire at this guy, because he has a knife, I don't know if you saw where it bounced, but I'm going to walk over there to him. And you can see that my shot, without even aiming at him, has a little bit of paint right here. So with that one shot, I saved from him coming to get me. So I'm going to have that ready, but I'm going to try to do like everybody else says and say, why can't you just taser him? So I have the taser ready to go. It's in an off position. That's how we carry it. It's going to have a cartridge on it, just like we carry it. And because this guy is not human, he can't walk towards me. So I've set this camera up 21 feet. So that used to be what they called it, the 21-foot rule. So what I'm going to do is go 21 feet because they said if you're closer than 21 feet, they can kill you before you can get to a gun. So I'm going to try to use it from the taser perspective, okay? So the naysayers that say he's only got a gun or he's only got a knife, why did you have to shoot him? So there's his knife, here's my taser, in this cartridge, or in this holster, and then this gun over here. Okay, so as soon as I start this, oh, and I've even got a remote control, and I've started the clock up there, so you can see this is our circuit clock. So as soon as I'm ready, I'm going to hit that, and we're going to see how much time has elapsed. So as soon as I hit that, I'm going to start walking towards him, just as if to signify him walking towards me to that 21 feet. And if my taser doesn't work, my only other option is to transition over to a gun. So we'll see if I had enough time or if it was too late. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the experiment. So I'm going to start the clock. Sir, put the knife down. Put the knife down. Put the knife down. He's walking towards me. I'm not walking towards him. It didn't hit. Didn't work. It didn't work. I didn't even drop it down. And I'm still walking. Could he be stabbing me before I can fire a round? I got my gun out. I got him right here. Okay? If same thing happened, I didn't put the taser back in the holster. Usually, we don't want to just throw it down. This holster doesn't work very well. So I would have to take the time to reholster my taser, transition to the gun, and come out with the gun to see if he can still get me. And in most cases, he's not going to be able to. So I don't know if you're paying attention to the time. You can rewind it and see how much time that took. But in the same sense, I'm going to do it again at 45 seconds and see what happens with me walking towards him as him's coming to me. So I'm just going to go with the gun, okay? Sir, drop the weapon. Sir, drop the weapon. Put the weapon down. Put the knife down. Okay? I fired 2 rounds off at him. So that probably just ended the threat. He's probably not going to stab me. And if you can see the paint, I've got a one here and one here. So again, center mass, all of these could be deadly shots. But that worked a lot better. So, deadly force for deadly force. So I'm going to pull these out. So first I'm going to disable this taser because it is still connected. Now if you hear this, if it's that loud, it means it didn't connect. Okay? So I'm going to drop this. Now if it didn't work, then I can still go in, and if I didn't want to get stabbed, I can still use it up against him. It's right here. But I don't know if you can see this, and I'll even just get the laptop and bring it over here to you. But in a hurry with me walking and all the other movement that comes with it, our guy here, you can see where, I don't know if you can see the paint. So there's the 2 places I hit him the second time, the first place I hit him the first time. If we look down at his leg, we can see one taser in there, but the other one was supposed to be somewhere up in here. Well, it didn't hit, so what did he get? Just a bee sting, so he's still coming at me with a knife. And if you'll see, there's a little bit of liability because I missed, and it actually stuck in the bricks here. So I'm going to set this computer back down and show you these taser probes in case you've never seen them. So what would usually happen, depending on department policy, is you pull these out of the skin. This one sticks into this pretty good. This may be lodged into the wall pretty good. Okay? And the cartridge. Now these are a biohazard because they have been under someone's skin. You can put them into here, but let's see if I can get that in there. That was the bent one that hit the wall. But that's what has to go under the skin. And it looks bigger on camera, but it's actually just about 1/4 of an inch that goes underneath the skin. Both of them have to penetrate underneath the skin to get into the muscle to do it. First time, I think I would have been dead. Second time, I used deadly force with deadly force, and it worked. Knife is deadly force, gun is deadly force. The knife will not run out, and it will not jam. So hopefully, that'll help you to form an opinion. So I'm going to post this on a little free discussion. It's not going to be for a grade, but let me know what you think. Would you have used your taser first, or would you have gone straight to deadly force? Good to talk to you. Hopefully send you another one soon.